Creators aren't just selling merch anymore. They're building empires. From burger chains to energy drinks, influencers are taking basic products and creating whole new brands. So the question is, are we seeing the rise of a completely new business?
So obviously what sparked this debate for us is we did the Mr. Beast episode.
Yep.
We did it just before we launched, and we got lots of feedback from people who really enjoyed that, actually, which was quite nice for us because it was a bit of a test. We don't know what people want yet.
And we
on
had
YouTube.
fun with it.
And we had fun with it. And then lots of people have sent us the news in the last 24 hours that Mr. Beast has launched yet another product. Well, it's the same product, really, but he's teamed up with other YouTubers. So KSI and Logan Paul. Our original criticism of Mr. Beast, right, was, and this is of someone who runs a consumer health company, consumer product company, and it happens to be in health. Should someone with Mr. Beast's audience and responsibility and audience size and positioning, it's his own choice to have that kind of brand positioning, be selling sugar?
Yeah.
And marketing sugar to kids under health messages.
Yeah.
And that was our big point of contention last time. Now the question is, should someone be doing that and teaming up with two more people who sell sugar in a bottle?
Yeah.
And should the three of them be coming together to sell sugar in a bar, sugar in a bottle, and saying, but it's less sugar and less, less chocolate and less whatever than the current worst thing on the market. Ours is the second worst thing in the market, is another way of saying it.
Yeah.
It's to me,
and
it's
that funny
ridiculous.
The funny thing that they said in that episode that they were so happy about is like children that weren't going to the chocolate aisle are now going to the chocolate aisle, as if that was something to be proud of. Like that is not something to hang your hat on. But I think in terms of today,
It's the most American thing I've ever heard.
it's crazy.
Proud to send more people to the chocolate aisle.
I know, and there are multiple clips, as in that's like a PR statement that they said. But I think this brings into contention for us two people who I think are in the space ourselves, which is, what do we think about creator-led businesses? Like as a completely new model that's probably been more pioneered by celebrities historically, but now you have people being able to build audiences and launch businesses. So I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with a creator-led business. What do you think?
So I've been invited to invest in a few of these, and the only ones that I have invested in, for what it's worth, are the ones where the founder really is, has an actual team themselves and is building this. A perfect example is Grace Beverley. I invested in Tala, because Grace she doesn't pretend to be the CEO. Like, she has hired a very competent, excellent CEO called Morgan. But Grace is in that business, and they make those products and they do the things. And so for me, I'm like, there's an authenticity level here. The same way as if, I'd been lucky enough, if I was lucky enough to invest in Gymshark, Ben Francis was actually doing the thing. He obviously became a creator from being an entrepreneur, but, same with Stephen Bartlett, that like the people in Flight Studio, they do make those products. This is a thing. I've also been invited to invest in tons of these businesses from companies like Genflow and whatever. They basically are cookie cutter companies that create products that are exceptionally average, but they can do the production at scale, and they put an influencer's face on it and they go, there's your distribution, and it's kind of like a 50-50 deal. I'm allergic to those deals because I feel like as an entrepreneur, the single most important thing, whether you are a creator or you make a consumer product or you do SaaS for care homes, the most important thing is that you literally, truly, genuinely are ultra passionate and care about your end consumer.
Yeah.
You care about the product, you're solving a problem that you really deeply care about. You could never convince me that someone who has hired a company to mass produce a thing and stick an influencer's face on it is anything other than a marketing scheme.
Yeah.
And all of this is to say, I don't know about Feastables, but I do know about Prime. Yeah. That is exactly what Prime is, because I was invited to invest in that company that ended up making Prime, and I obviously missed out on a really big opportunity because that was actually an incredible... Yeah, it would have been incredible. However, the reason I didn't do it is because I was just like, this is garbage, guys. Like, you're not trying to create an amazing product. You're just finding a distribution channel, which is really smart. But how high quality can that product genuinely be? And the answer is not. They don't care. And it's just a brand, some liquid in a bottle and a face. And I really oppose that stuff. Over the last decade, Chris and I have started over a dozen businesses. It's not something we're particularly proud of, by the way. But it means we've had a lot of exposure to different business banks. You try one, you're not so happy. Try another, you're not so happy. The cycle goes on. By this point, between us, we were laughing, but we tried them all. There was one we actually hadn't, and it's because they're newer, and we weren't really familiar with the fact that they had this option. So we wanted to try that based on our own knowledge and compare it. And I tell you what, it is head and shoulders above. And we are thrilled to be using and partnering with Wise Business.
Basically, Wise Business is the only account you need to get paid, pay employees and suppliers, and manage your business's money in multiple currencies.
Exactly. With Wise, you can do business across the world, pay, get paid, and manage your business's international money with ease.
And look, here's the thing. You actually save money as you grow. No hidden fees, no sneaky markups on exchange rates, and no ongoing subscription costs. It's like finding money in your pocket that you didn't know was there.
But my favorite part, and this is crucial, it's just so damn easy to use. I know because I'm the one who set it up for this company.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you're lazy. I was never going to get you to do it. But anyway, you can make payments in as little as a few seconds, and it integrates with all your business software.
You can easily withdraw funds from Amazon, Stripe, and more in multiple currencies. And it connects to accounting softwares like Xero and QuickBooks. But damn, what about security?
Well, as you know, every time you try and log in and take money out of the account without checking with us first, the security is amazing. They've got two-factor authentication, a 24/7 customer support team, and a fraud team working around the clock to keep Chris off our money. I could go on about all of the amazing features, but seriously, when you're a small company or even just starting one, there's already so much going on that having a payment service that's quick, easy, and, by the way, most importantly, reliable is just an absolute necessity. And for that reason, we use Wise. If you want to get on board, it's simple. Just head to wise.com/business to learn more about how Wise could work for your business.
I think it's like an interesting one because if you're a startup owner, and like startups historically have been, you know, the stupid phrase from Mark Zuckerberg, which is like move fast and break things, became like a mantra for so many people. It was actually the mantra of Elizabeth Holmes from Theranos. Mm-hmm. She always quoted it. But I think that like as startups, you have a bit of a leeway on the quality of your product. And it's known, you know, if you want to buy a good quality product, I wouldn't say necessarily startups are the place to do it because they're experimenting, they're shipping fast, they're changing.
Totally.
And so you have that already with the startup business. And you then have the idea of a creator launching it. And often creators, I think, like you say, are either one of two things. There's someone that's authentically building a product because they love it. I would say, for example, you and Heights,
totally.
Like you are a creator, you have a product. The thing you care about most is the quality of the product. You could grow that business faster, but you don't. And so you then have the other side, which is like you say, I have a product. I'm now going to team up with loads of influencers and just punt it as far as physically possible for the money. And so I think if you combine the idea that startups are a bit shaky sometimes to buy from, combine that with influencers putting their faces to products, which is very similar to what Prime is, I then go, do I really want to be buying that product for my children to eat and to drink? And that for me, I'm like, okay, fine. That's two things that I'm already against. And then when we layer on top of that, these specific influencers we're talking about, you know, Logan Paul has the scandal with the NFT thing that he did, which is a massive thing where effectively like he released a product that wasn't ready.
And he didn't care about it. You know,
he didn't
come out, you know, it's come out scandalous because he just didn't really care the impact it was having on his own audience.
Didn't address it, didn't deal with it properly, didn't refund people properly. And the only reason that he might end up doing it, I think probably is going to be the public pressure. And so that's the same person we're talking about. And then we did an episode of Mr. Beast recently where we talked about, they're super impressive people. And I'm not saying I condemn them forever, but there are things they do in their businesses that are a bit shady. You combine all of that with the idea of selling food and drink to kids every day. I'm like, I don't know, I don't buy it.
I think it gets worse.
Yeah.
All of that is true. And all of that to me is a red flag. But the biggest red flag to me is, you know, Gandhi says something along the lines of, you know, enlightenment is...
Quoting Gandhi, here we go.
David Gandhi, though. No, I'm joking. But, you know, when what you think, what you say, and what you do are all in alignment, you will feel happy, enlightened, you know, present, all of the things. Logan Paul, just look at Logan Paul's body and KSI's body.
They're
These
ripped.
two guys are the peak physical condition any man would ever wish to ever in their life get to. You know, they are perfect 10 out of 10 physiques. You only get to a perfect 10 out of 10 physique by being perfect, by having an exceptional diet, by not pumping it full of sugar, there is no Feastable or Prime that has ever touched their lips, frankly, looking at them, right? Like they have like a 0% body fat thing going on.
Yeah, they're not eating this stuff.
They look incredible. Full credit to them. Like they do the work. Like that is a perfect example of a great mindset, a great attitude, and they deserve their success on their channels. They are obviously highly disciplined, and disciplined people do not have that kind of food. This is the last thing on their diet. And then Mr. Beast has gone from fat to thin as an inspiring health journey of, I was really unhealthy. I let it all get away from me. I'm going to take it back and I'm going to go on a health journey and I'm going to become thin again. Again, don't become thin by eating chocolate bars and energy drinks. And so the biggest issue for me on all of it is just this concept of what they create and what they promote is the antithesis of what they themselves would consume, and it doesn't represent any part of their lifestyle at all. And that to me is just super cynical marketing. Like, how could it look like anything other than a cash grab? There's nothing natural about why they would create those products. And
so it sort of takes us to a place where I was talking to someone before the show, and they were saying that kids are now looking at Prime bottles as almost like trophies or status symbols. And I think that does make you really like viscerally disconnect with what you just said, which is like these people are pumping a product, making a huge amount of money from selling something that they themselves will not drink. Yeah. And then kids are holding it up as a status symbol, which is simply like sugar water. And there's so much negativity around what these products actually are. And so I feel in a sense like we're kind of talking about a change from like traditional marketing and brand towards creator marketing. And I don't know if the onus is as strong on the creator to be as decent towards the customer, you know.
And I was going to say, I wonder if there's a UK-US thing, and obviously remember that KSI's like a North Londoner, so actually there's clearly not.
Who I like.
Me too. I really like, but I think this is completely off key. But I was just going to compare it to, let's go back to Grace Beverley, right? She makes Tala. She literally is a fitness influencer. She goes to the gym every day. She has an incredible physique. She works really hard at it. And that's consistent over years. Her other products, fitness planners, journals, Shreddy, which is like nutritional supplements as well. These are all completely in alignment. You look at Grace and you go, hey, what are the things that Grace should create? She creates fitness products and business products. Yeah. No one is calling Grace out because she's authentically creating products that totally fit her personality and brand. Yeah. And Stephen Bartlett, what are the products that Stephen Bartlett created? A diary, conversation cards, like they're literal thoughtful products that fit entirely around his purpose of having meaningful conversations with people. Yeah. No one's calling, you know, they might call him out for fuel ads and things like that, sure, but Stephen's products that him and his team create, completely in alignment with what the point of Stephen exists as a brand to other people and how they perceive it. Spencer Matthews, right, was an alcoholic, went on a health journey to become sober and go from like fat, lazy slob to like incredible Guinness World Record, marathon runner, etc. Yeah. What's his company?
Just shout out to him that what he did is unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know how you, like, how does he even...
It's ridiculous.
He's genetically must be a freak
heights,
as well.
Obviously.
Yeah, he is taking heights, everyone.
But the other side of this is, what's his product? It's Clean Co., which is the largest and fastest growing clean spirit brand in the world.
Is that right?
Yeah. Jesus. And so he's absolutely nailed the positioning because he's basically, you know, I don't drink alcohol. And that was part of my journey. And so I'm sober. And so I've created the alcohol alternative and a beautiful brand and stuff. Again,
we should get him on.
Yeah, we definitely should, actually. But on that note, you know, no one's looking at Spencer and going, why are you making that? No, it perfectly fits with the story.
Exactly.
It's why I make heights, why I had insomnia. Again, how can Mr. Beast and Logan Paul and KSI go, oh, well, you know, I was training for this, you know, really complicated losing half my body weight scenario, and someone told me the only way to get there was chocolate and sugar. I don't think so, Jimmy. That's probably not the story.
What do you think the major corporation, like, because obviously a lot of their marketing is like slagging off Hershey's, it's slagging off like Gatorade, it's basically saying that they're the disruptors. And I think what's really happening is they have conquered mastering attention, delivering a subpar product against a decent incumbent product. And they're just making young people view it as status, and there's this like psychological trick that's going on. Whereas the existing product is probably better.
Well, what makes me sad is they're following the challenger brand playbook.
Yeah, I know, it's so painful.
Heights and other companies like Heights as well also follow the challenger brand playbook. But the point with that playbook is you pick a category.
Better.
The product's better.
Yeah.
The category needs shaking up. And it ideally delivers a better promise and a better life to the person. Like on a very simple basis, the thing that people like me don't have, and most people who I know who have consumer brands, is an audience. So 10, 15 years ago, the right way to build an unbelievable company, look at Innocent, was you make an amazing product, you disrupt an industry, you make an amazing product, you put an incredible tone of voice out there, you garner attention by being an amazing personality, and your brand execution is phenomenal, and you absolutely nail it. You become one of the biggest brands in the world, then you can pay for whatever celebrities you want to promote it, and it all just fits and aligns and all that stuff. Nowadays, the playbook is different. Nowadays, the playbook is very hard to get attention. So you have a massive strategic advantage if you have an audience already, because you already mastered how to share a message and how to build an audience and how to engage and communicate with that community. And so why not create a product that you can sell and monetize to them? There's nothing overly cynical about that, because it's also the same thing that entrepreneurs do. They just don't have the audience. So like, go create. Great, good for you. But at least follow the other parts of the challenger brand playbook, which is essentially disrupt an industry with genuinely poor incumbents, genuinely make a better product, and improve people's lives by doing it. I don't think they tick any of those boxes. All they have is an enormous audience.
This is actually why a lot of my content these days is trying to push established entrepreneurs and businesses to create audiences, because I feel like I know so many incredible founders and incredible entrepreneurs who make incredible products, and yet they never perform particularly well because they don't have a great audience. And so I'm always pushing people towards that. But I suppose the future of creative businesses, I think it's going to rise and rise again. I feel like we've barely touched the surface on this whole, I suppose, democratization of audience building. It's no longer TV that controls how products are sold. It's the fact that I can put a message out to hundreds of thousands of people at a click of a button. And I think that's just going to increase with younger people seeing that it's possible, seeing all of these examples. Do I think that's a bad thing? Do you think that's a bad thing?
I don't know. I think also there's an aspect of there's only so much choice people have. There's only so many times people want to change products, and I feel like this stuff is actually going to get very saturated. So I think it's still on the rise. I think it will hit a plateau relatively soon, actually. I'm not sure people genuinely care enough. People care about the environment, and they care about sustainability as well. There are other things people care about, basically, beyond just who the influencer they trust is. And at some point, people say, I don't need more products. Like, this one does exactly the same as that one does, so I don't need it. So there is an angle, I think, where consumers are just going to have enough of this. And I don't know. I feel like this is kind of... if this was crypto, I'd be calling the top.
Yeah, I mean,
this feels like the top to me. This is toppy.
I feel we're yet to begin.
Really?
I feel like the wave is coming, and I think that no longer do you have to spend money on advertising. You can run the audience yourself, and I think it's amazing, and I think it's dangerous at the same time. I feel that I did the keynote talk at the creator space the other night, and so there was hundreds of creators there, and one of the things that I noticed is that the way I treat my business is I run it like a business. I have multiple team members who know all of their jobs, and the idea is that the lowest lift from me gets content out. And so I never find it burns me out, because I've run businesses before, so I process and systemize everything. What I've noticed from creators is that they don't think like business people. And so I met 3 or 4 incredible people that night. Julius Dean was one of them, who hopefully will get on at some point, who is the biggest, most followed magician online. He gets hundreds of millions of views, and yet he's exhausted of making content. And I was talking to so many other people who've completely burnt out on content creation, because it is exhausting.
Yeah, of course it is. It's a flywheel. It's
a flywheel, and kind of once you make it, you've got to keep making it. And I think that means that I reckon in this space of creator brands versus brands, I think you'll have creator brands doing this the whole time, whereas I think brands will continue to do what they've done forever, and you will have incredible challenger brands that don't necessarily have an entrepreneur pumping them.
So I think as a creator and a product maker, I would say if you're a creator, just be super conscious that when you're creating a brand, you need to create something that is genuinely better than the incumbents, and not just marketing spiel. You can stand behind that. You are absolutely genuinely disrupting an industry that deserves to and needs to be disrupting an industry, and you are making the planet or lives for people better. If you can do those three things, you're probably onto something. And then if you're a product maker and you don't have an audience yet, the answer is pretty simple. Like, actually start to think about how are you going to build out your distribution channels? What's going to give you an unfair advantage? And can you build an audience or a community of people that are really going to get behind you? Because if you can't do those three things, you're also not going to succeed. So you can see a world where like these three things, like, you know, they interconnect, and where you can essentially nail this as a creator creating consumer brands is being conscious that those things have to coincide.
Yeah. And the thing, like, the takeaway for all entrepreneurs should be, whenever you study big businesses, you realize that, and you know, just successful small businesses, you realize that the success of the business is based on existing customers, either telling new customers or writing content that can be viewed by new customers. It is basically word of mouth around the quality of the product. And a great example is, like, I did something recently. I built a community recently for entrepreneurs. And I remember thinking to myself, when it sold out, I remember thinking, wow, is that not the easiest way ever to sort of create income? And then I suddenly was like, well, it will all depend on the outcome for the people. Like, they must have the best experience in the world. And so I went super deep on it, and I spent forever with the community, and the transformation that we did was amazing. And what I noticed is their feedback was, all the other communities in the world and all the other things we've been on, the person who runs it isn't involved. And suddenly you think, okay, well, it's because they don't care about the quality.
Right. And this comes back to your point and my earlier point. So he who cares wins.
Totally. Like, put time into the product.
Totally.
You know?
And you can really get pretty far just by caring the most. And there's no way that you can pretend to me for a moment that, other than the payday, KSI, Logan Paul, or Mr. Beast care truly about the outcome, the better lives of their end customers by creating those products.
So I suppose our takeaway is, audience is powerful. Audience is a new currency. You know, engagement and attention is a new currency. But I suppose the fundamentals of the quality of the product and the quality of the brand, and treating your customer with, you know, complete focus is the way that you still build a brand in the future.
And he who cares wins.
This is Secret Leaders. I'm Chris.
And I'm Dan.
Thank you for listening.
And don't forget to hit subscribe. Basically, subscribe or die.
Thank you.